Good morning and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate. We are today recording episode number 137. Welcome back, David Corman.
Always great to be with you. Look at you. Look at how good you look on this thing right here.
I do like that look. I do like that look. And thanks for always representing. It's great to have you back, David.
Well, it's always great to discuss these things. It's exciting, that we're now in early August. Things are progressing. There's still some action out there. We talked in our last episode about some things that people should be doing over the summer, and as opposed to just doing nothing. That enjoy your summer, take your time off, enjoy the great weather and our beautiful lakes and rivers and all that. Like that's critical. That's important. But at the same time, there's things that can be done to help your business. So don't forget about that and be active at that because you want to prep yourself and get ready because the fall market is coming. So with this episode, we're going to talk about some of the things, some of the strategies, some of the tips that that we could pass on. And mostly you, David, I'm mostly listening to this stuff, but like, how do you get ready for the fall market? What are you telling your people?
Yeah, David, and I think the X is one of those love it or hate it events because to me it always signifies that we're nearing the end of the summer. So when I
Yeah.
heard you talk about the X in the previous episode, it just my heart sank a little bit. But that is the reality. Labor Day is around the corner, and it's gonna come faster than you think, right? Because you're enjoying the summer, you're enjoying the hot weather, you're enjoying the little time of vacation that we have. But I think every single professional, every entrepreneur has to take a little bit of time and start, working in some goals for the fall market, looking at some KPIs, and really sit down and start planning. And I think this is a critical aspect to really get out of the gates running. And look, we've all been feeling the effects of a bit of a slower market, and affordability is a big buzzword that everybody's talking about. But I also want to challenge everybody, and I spoke about this on the last podcast. Real estate is cyclical. And right now, we're in a historical summer market where historically things are always a little bit slower, and that's okay. And it gives you the opportunity to really work on your business. So I think everybody should be planning, everybody should be looking at KPIs, everybody should be looking at where they are in terms of their GCI year to date. And if you're not hitting your milestones, if you're not hitting your goals for where you want to be today, you got to really sit down and give a serious thought to what can you do different starting in starting now to really accelerate your success in the fall. And I think to answer that question, you have to look at where your leads are coming from. You have to look at where are your relationships with your past clients? Who can you call today to get them excited about the opportunity of moving? And you know, help your clients build wealth. If your retail clients are not moving, meaning your clients are not moving and selling their primary residence, let's talk about who's ready, who has equity in their home, who's ready to maybe take their first step on their journey to finding an investment property. And David, we talked about this a lot at length on the previous episode, how now is the right time to get in, especially if you're thinking about becoming a first-time investor. What a great time to get in before prices shoot up. Because as we know, if affordability goes up, if interest rates are going down, that's going to impact prices, especially if demand stays the same. And we know that 1.1 million new immigrants came into the country. So all the stars are aligning to have those investment conversations with your clients. And look, you guys know when your clients bought the house, what they paid for it, and how much equity they have in them. So if they're not ready to move, maybe it's time that you sit down and get them excited about building real wealth and taking that first step to finding an investment property. But whatever happens, you have a little bit of time. Things are a little bit slower right now to start planning and working on your business, not in your business. And that's, something I'd like to see agents take more time to do to work on their business and not be in the trenches running around working in their business.
Yeah, it's interesting that you raised the investment side of it, because there's been a lot of negative press lately about real estate investments because some people have got caught, some people got stuck, so those stories get played up big time in the press. People that bought pre-construction, now they're coming to close and the rates are way higher and they don't have tenants and they can't carry the properties, and you start hearing horror stories, and then you hear the other side of the horror stories too. I've got tenants in my investment product. My tenants stop paying. I can't get them to pay, and I can't get kick them out, because the system is hard to deal with. And there is a lot of, I'm not going to downplay that. There's a lot of truth, and I know, David, in your business, you're dealing with this all the time. There's a lot of truth. And there are horror stories that are truth, and those are the realities that some people are facing. But that doesn't mean that's happening to everybody. It's a percentage of them that just gets played up big time in the news. So you can't think everybody's got investment property has a problem. No, a small percentage of them are underwater. A small percentage of them have tenants from hell, and making their life miserable. And that shouldn't discourage everybody else from doing it, but they need to have the proper advice from the realtor, and they got to have a realtor that's going to direct them properly to find the right properties, to help them get the right mortgage advice and lending advice, and make sure that they're covered that way, to figure out what the rents have to be, to help them find qualified tenants so they don't get the tenants from hell. Because most people don't have tenants from hell. You don't hear about everybody that's an investment owner and they get their rent check every month and everything clears and it's paying for all their costs. You don't hear about those stories. You only hear about the stories when things go bad, right? So we can't let that override people's thought process about getting out there and doing those type of things. So that's where you guys are crucial, to give them the straight goods and the right information and guide them the right way.
Yeah, David. I mean, I've been hearing this trend for about 6 months now, where, investor money is leaving Canada. Uh, Investors are selling rental properties, and I've always been a person that has gone against um, the trend. And I think if you're brave enough to go against some of these trends, that's where the most opportunities are created. And it's not easy. It's not easy to go against the crowd and not follow the crowd, because people think that the crowd is always right. And it's not always the case. And in fact, a lot of the times when um, trends get so big that everybody's following them, it's really too late. And you have to kind of look behind you and see, what else is happening? What else is the bigger picture to really take advantage of the bigger opportunity that might be presenting itself. Um, I was on another webinar yesterday, and we were discussing, investing outside of the GTA. And this goes in line to all the investment dollars leaving Canada right now. And I said to people, I said, listen, this isn't a new trend. Investor dollars leaving the GTA is not a new trend. That's always been a choice on the table. Do you want the cash flow? If you want the cash flow, you have to invest outside of the GTA. Or do you want the stability and the amazing appreciation that we've seen in the GTA? Because if that's what you choose, you're going to get lower cash flows, but you're going to get that amazing appreciation, and you're going to get the stability of investing in the GTA. And that conversation is still on the table today. We see this big trend of investment dollars leaving Canada. Where are these investment dollars going? What are people investing in outside of Canada? Do they really understand the risks associated with, tax structures and investing overseas and estate planning? Like, these are complex issues that in the long run, I'm not convinced that taking money out of Canada is the right decision.
And even dealing with people's frustration in Ontario with the Residential Tenancy Act and the process you got to go through to to collect rent or to kick someone out, and it's not easy, and there's challenges there, and it's slanted in favor of tenants. There's no question about that. But you think it's different if you go and pick a state in the US and you go there, they've all got the equivalent of our Residential Tenancy Act, depending which state you're going to have just as much problem there with tenants there. So those issues exist. That's part of the challenge of owning investment properties. So, but if you do your homework and you qualify your tenants and get the right tenant, doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in, your likelihood of running into those situations is a lot smaller. So, that's where people have to really focus on, I think, in investment properties is getting qualified tenants and not just grabbing the first person that comes along and says, okay, I'll give you something, or you know what, I'll give you. I just had one the other day of someone contacted me. They got a tenant that's not paying, and what homework did you do with that tenant to accept them in the first place? Well, we had a few people looking at it. They offered to give us 6 months rent up front. So we took them. Well, that's great. So what happened? Well, after 6 months, they stopped paying. So it's been another 6 months and they haven't been able to get any money out of it. But they took that tenant over other people who just offered, here, I'll give you a first month and a last month deposit. And here's my bank information. They passed on qualified tenants because somebody said, I'll give you 6 months pay up front. And then they stop paying after that and they can't get rid of them. So like, how's that a good decision?
Yeah.
It's
David, the episode we did with Whiting Bolu from Open Room really comes into mind because there's a lot of technology now out there that's really changing the balance of power, right? And um, I'm a strong believer that programs like that and technology like that, where landlords and tenants can search and see who the good landlords, who the good tenants are. And then you can really vet your tenants in a completely different way now. And listen, once you get one strike, and that LTB order goes out there and gets posted against your name, uh, well, now all the doors are going to be shut on you. You're not going to find a place to live. Tenants are not going to want to rent to you, and if they do rent to you, there's going to be huge uh, negatives associated with maybe higher rent or rent upfront or strict co-signers that is going to be imposed against you. So I think there's a lot of technology out there that's shifting the balance of power, and in my opinion, it's going to happen quite quickly. So again, tying it back to the opportunity, tying it back to going against the trend of what's happening right now. I think there's an opportunity to actually pick up rental doors, to pick up whole portfolios that institutional investors are selling because they're tired, and really get in and wait for some of these trends to turn. And it's going to happen quickly because once people realize that, hey, if I get, one blemish on my record, technology and the internet, you can search things that quickly, tenants are going to smarten up and they're going to understand that, hey, I can't abuse the system anymore. I have to pay my rent on time. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences. They're going to smarten up really quickly, David. You need a place to live. If you don't have a place to live, you're in trouble in this country.
right. They're going to have an opportunity to be a bad tenant one time.
Right.
That's it. And then they're going to get blackballed and they're going to struggle to find this. So, I hope that does make a shift. I agree with you. I think it will. And I also agree with you. I think your advice is great, David. This is an opportunity now. Whenever you get negative press like that, saying, "Oh, it's the investment market," that's the signal. Yes, there's opportunities there. So if you know what you're doing things the right way. That's your signal. Figure it out. Get in there. Labor Day is just around the corner. The air show is only a couple weeks away to signal the end of the X, and we should be ready. So I think you're bang on with the advice you're giving everybody here today.
Yeah, and take some time, work on your business, not in your business. Realtors, I see this all the time. running from one appointment to the next, chasing transactions. Take a step back, stop chasing, start attracting. How do you attract people to you? How do you attract business? How do you make your phone ring? Well, you don't chase, number one. Um, we have to shift from being transactional and just going from one transaction to the next transaction, and really build lasting relationships, help people solve their financial issues, um, really consult them, and become ingrained in the fabrics of their everyday life. And you can do that by helping them solve financial issues through real estate, through giving them advice. And I think if you approach your business from that point of view, you're always going to be successful.
Well, that's great advice that you're sharing today, David. So I hope everybody takes it to heart and follows up on it, because it's all strategies and important things to do, and it's about building your business and being prepared. There's always going to be market shifts, and you can never say, "Oh, the market's this, the market's that, therefore I'm not doing anything." Like that's never the right answer. It's never an excuse. So prepare in advance, be ready for whatever's coming, and be proactive and and be ready, because we're gonna have a good fall market, I think.
Yeah. And I think if you're struggling with where to start, like working on your business, I would say start with your personal brand. That's where I think you start. You define your personal brand, you define your mission and vision, you define your perfect customer, and then you work backwards. Okay. Where does my perfect customer shop? What hobbies does my perfect customer have? What kind of car does my perfect customer drive? Where do they go for their hobbies, for their networking? And you start defining all this stuff. And then you work backwards and you try to get in front of them as an audience. And I think if you can start there, and that could be, where you start working on your business, everything comes and sort of, crystallizes right in front of you. So then, let's talk about social media. If you're posting something, does it positively affect your brand and does it add to your mission vision, uh, or does it take away from it? If it adds, then you post. If it doesn't add in line with your personal brand and what you're trying to do, then you don't post it. So I think anybody that's kind of thinking about where should I start really working on my business, that's where I would start. I would define your personal brand. I would look at your mission, vision, uh, and values, and then I would define your perfect customer and work backwards to get everything aligned.
Well, again, great advice, David. And I know that you got quite a good group at Sutton Summit, and most of them tune in and do watch these things. But these podcasts are offered for everybody, so it's a good advice for anybody that's out there. These things they should be doing, and it's great that you're sharing these thoughts in this type of forum. I know you do it internally there, but it's great to share with the larger community of real estate agents that are out there, and hopefully they're watching this too.
Yeah. And David, everybody has their unique value proposition. And sometimes it's hard to really define it. So if you're struggling with, what is your UPC? What is your unique value proposition? What should your brand be? Come in, sit down with Sabia and myself. Let's have that conversation, because a lot of the times by asking questions just about your history, your life, your experience, we can pull it out of you. So sometimes, it takes a little bit of a brainstorming session. Sometimes it's not as easy and it's not as clear for some realtors, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't if you're struggling with this, come talk to us. We love this stuff, because we're finding out things about ourselves, we're finding out things about you, and it's a great exercise. So don't feel like you're on your own to do this. Come sit down with us, we'll ask you the right questions and we'll start probing, and we'll get it out of you.
Yeah, it's good because it's hard to do it yourself. As much as you try and you think you're defining yourself, or how do other people perceive you or define you, it's good to get a perspective from others and have that conversation, and you draw it out that way. And so that's a great way to think of it. You can't, everybody's in business for themselves, but you can't do everything all by yourselves. And it's good to have some input. You need the support of the brokerage, and find out, how other people are doing things, and this might be good for them, but it doesn't make sense for you. So your success might be a different path. So get the help you need and figure out that path.
100%. Well, David, this has been really a great conversation. I hope everybody got a lot of value out of it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please share your feedback, ask us questions. We want to hear from you. And we look forward to seeing everybody in our next episode. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.